Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of this video podcast series. Now in this episode I speak to SOH RUI YONG, who is our double defending SEA Games gold medalist in the marathon and also our current national record holder in the marathon and the 10K. Now to me, off the track, Rui Yong is also one of the icons of sport in Singapore. He's always been one of the most vocal people when it comes to speaking out about the welfare of athletes in Singapore and also about sport in Singapore in general. So in this first part of the conversation, we talk about his SEA Games successes, his switch to the marathon, and also about his self-belief in dealing with doubt and pressure. So I hope you enjoy this first part of the conversation and look out for more parts coming soon. Alright, so I'm going to start by reading out some of your more prominent accolades. Okay, so you're a 2-time SEA Games marathon champion. You hold a national record in the marathon. I think you held it for the half marathon for a while.
For 4 months.
4 months. Okay, I didn't break it. Someone else did. You still hold a 10K.
Yes.
Okay. The marathon time actually that you set in the Chicago Marathon, which is the record, would have put you well within the top 100 of the Rio Olympics finishes. Do you know that?
Actually, I definitely looked it up at the time of the Rio Olympics. Yeah. The reason why it's not something I pay too much attention to is because I think number one, the Rio Olympics was run in harsher conditions in Chicago.
That's fair. Yeah.
So I mean, yes, what my time of 2 hours 24 minutes and 55 seconds would have placed me in the top 100, but I think it's important to consider that in the marathon it's not as straightforward as some of the other events. Like the weather can easily add 5 to 10 minutes to your time. Like if I race in Singapore, my fastest time in Singapore is 2:34, and when I ran in Chicago it was 2:24. So there's already a 10-minute difference. There. I'm not saying that I can't run faster than 2:34 in Singapore. Like in Malaysia last year when I won the SEA Games, I ran 2:29 in very similar conditions to Singapore. But even then, there's still 5 minutes, like 4.5 minutes away from my best time. So obviously, weather plays a huge impact. Yeah.
But so which of these things though like mean the most to you, I guess? And you're like widely respected in the running community. Widely respected sportsman, you're holding down a full-time job as well. So which of these things mean the most to you?
Wow, there's a lot of. Let me organize my thoughts on that one. I think that what means the most to me is, whenever I can compete well on the international scene, be it the World Half Marathon Championships, be it in World Marathon majors like Chicago, like the Chicago Marathon and the Berlin Marathon that I'm doing coming up, but also and also winning medals at the SEA Games. Like all these things, like being able to represent Singapore on the international stage means a lot to me because this is not a sport that we're traditionally strong in. Like until 2013, Singapore had never won a SEA Games gold medal, and that's really like the lowest echelon of like international competition that we participate in. After that, you have the Commonwealth, Asian, and Olympics, and we basically never won a medal at all of this. But until 2013, we never won a gold medal in the marathon. So being able to be a part of, I think what you can notice in Singapore is there's a bit of a marathon boom, a marathon movement.
Yeah, there is.
So like it's a very popular sport now. Like, every weekend, if you go for a walk on the Marina Barrage, you have like different kinds of everything from the Hello Kitty run, the Power Rangers run to like the Stand Chartered marathon. So I think that it's good because it keeps people looking forward to something every weekend, something active, and there's something for everyone at all these events. So being able to be a part of something like that, a huge like shift in mindset towards the sport of running, is definitely huge to me. And being able to do so while holding down a full-time job is also huge to me because that way I connect with people. You see, like if you're a professional athlete and you're running well, that's good. And you can perform at the highest level, that's even better. But when you can work 9 to 6 and you do and you perform in sport and you can perform at a high level, then you can inspire people that it's possible for them to. Because let's be serious, 99% of people, 95% of people hold down a job and do their exercise.
But would you rather actually be professional?
Being able to dedicate my full time and energy to my sport, yes, I think. Essentially, I think the answer is yes, because then recovery is better, the quality of training sessions is better. I mean, we are all like beings of finite energy and time. So obviously, being able to dedicate 9 more hours a day to be it training or recovery or rest or like better nutrition and preparing better food and these things, it does make a difference. And that's why, like on the SEA Games here, I might disappear on no pay leave for 3 months just to like get my act together for the SEA Games, because a lot of my competitors are training full time.
And so are your main competitors in Southeast Asia as well? Like,
my main competitors would be generally from Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines.
Yeah.
So in Indonesia, for example, my main competitor from Indonesia, Agus Prayogo.
yeah. And he went to university because you met him at the university games
Yes.
before, right?
Yeah. He went to university. He went to university. I don't know the exact structure of the universities in Indonesia, but I know that when I met him in university, I was 21 and he was 27. And he was already working for the army. And yet he was competing in the ASEAN University Games. So I think it was a part-time study or whatever it was. I'm not very sure. I know we generally don't have 27, 28-year-olds going to the ASEAN University Games, just because in Singapore, you know, we're a bit more rushed on these things. Like, you know, like you finish JC, you go to NS, you finish your NS, you go to uni, you get out of uni and you start work. So I think that, I met Agus at the ASEAN Uni Games, and essentially he's supported by the army, so he does have an army job, but I would say that more than half the time he's actually training full time, and he gets an army salary, but the army supports him in that way. And he's very proud, of representing his home nation and his army because of that. You know, they make it possible for him to compete on a high level against the best athletes in the world. And
so talking about competing with Agus, right? Like, did 2015 or 2017 mean more to you? So you won gold in 2015 and 17.
Yeah.
But I know you beat him directly in 17, right? Did I get it right?
I only beat him in 17. In 15, he ran the 5 and 10, silver in the 5, gold in the 10. And in 2017, he attempted the triple and the marathon was first.
Got it.
Yeah, so
he didn't attempt the triple in 15?
No, he attempted the triple in 17. And the marathon came first, so I was kind of hoping that, he's going to do the triple. I hope the 5K and 10K come before the marathon, but no such luck. Marathon was the first event. So, but in that sense, it was good because I knew that I was taking him on in a fair fight and not after he's been run down by a couple of races.
So then, did it make 17 sweeter? And especially because you were defending in 17, was there more pressure? Did it taste sweeter?
I think, you're... I struggled to pick one of the two. I would say 15 was very, very special because it was my first time competing in SEA Games and it was in Singapore, and being able to win in front of the home crowd and having Majula Singapura played on home ground in front of home fans is definitely something that you can't take away. But 17 was very, very special in the sense that there were a lot more spectators out in 17. Malaysia just has a bit more of a sporting culture in Singapore, and also better weather that day. You know, in Singapore in 15,
it rained, right? Didn't it?
It was a thunderstorm, and it was like howling wind and like thunder, lightning, and rain. So not the most spectator friendly, not runner friendly, but definitely not spectator friendly as well. So I think that definitely limited the number of spectators out on the course. We still had a good turnout, for all things considered. But in 17, you know, it was like 4 or 5. I think it was 5 laps. The race was 5 laps. So it was very spectator friendly because everyone could just stand there
and watch the...
Exactly. It was like 5 laps, 8 point something K. So then people just stood there and watched the race go round and round. They were yelling and screaming and shouting. So it was a very, very both were different experiences. Singapore was nice because we only did like 4 laps at East Coast, and then we ran out into the city, Marina Barrage, and came back. Whereas in KL it was like, if you look at the route map, it was like a line. It was like sharp turn, straight, sharp turn, straight. And the Malaysian fans were actually very rowdy, a lot more rowdy than...
In a good or bad way?
It was in a good way, you know?
But when you're racing, do you even hear that? I mean, you're usually in the zone, right?
In the zone, but no, I mean for me, because the marathon is so long, you see, like if it's 100 meters or 400 meters, you may not really have a sense of what's going on, but marathon, you know, it's 2.5 hours out there. So in fact, I would argue that 2.5 hours or 2 hours 20 minutes or 2 hours 10 minutes, however long you're running a marathon, is too long to stay locked in all the time. You have to be able to lock in at the right times and like relax at the right times. So when you're relaxed, you know, like there's a photo of me making a face at my sister, sticking my tongue out at her when I saw her. So, you know, being able to relax and still physically operate at that pace is very crucial, because if you're just locked in and tense right from the start, it's very easy to like have a lapse in the middle, and then and if you, I just think it's impossible to focus 100% for 2 hours and 20 minutes. So if you're able to like relax and just go with the pack until it's time to really lock in, focus and fight, then you're fresher when the time comes.
So that sounds very much like the you that I remember from school. You're usually super relaxed. So I know that back in school you were a mid-distance runner, right? You did 5 and 10 Ks. So what I'm curious about is, why did you make the jump to marathons? And I know you made it super late, which is like unusually late for most athletes.
Actually, I think. Okay, I'll correct you on that.
Okay.
I made a jump to the marathon when I was 23 years old, which
Is that not late? Or?
is considered early. 23 years
Oh,
old
is
is
it?
considered
Okay.
an early switch to marathon
Okay.
running. Especially at the level. When I won, I'm not sure what the history of the Southeast Asian Games is, but I know when I won the Southeast Asian Games at 23 years old, I was definitely one of the youngest in history.
Oh, okay.
It's usually an old man's event, like people usually run on the track, compete on the track until their late 20s or early 30s, and they realize they're not getting any faster, and the track requires that kind of speed, and then you switch up to the marathon, whereas you can keep building endurance even though you're losing your speed at that age. One thing about Singaporeans is we don't usually stay in the sport long enough
to do that.
To have that kind of switch. Okay, so like for me, the reason why I switched early is because I was 23. I was running the 5 and 10k, and sorry, I was 22, 23, running the 5 and 10k, and I was improving on both events. But then and when I was 22, that's the year I broke the national record in the 10k actually. So people will argue like, oh, you're 22 years old, you broke the record in 10. Why don't you stay there until you're 28? You can keep lowering that 10k. But the thing is, the SEA Games was coming up in 2015, and 2015 I was going to be 23 years old, and I had to make a decision whether I wanted to try and qualify in the 5 and 10 and go there and like scrap for a medal, or go to the marathon, because my strength has always been the longer distances. Even in school, when I ran the 1,005 and the 5k, like in J1, when I was 17, I ran the 1,005 and 5k. I was bronze in the 1,005 and gold in the 5k. And then the next year, our coach Stephen Quack moved me up from the 1,005 to the 3k 300 meter steeple. So I did 3,000 meter steeple and the 5k, and I got gold in both. And then when I started racing 10Ks and half marathons, those results in comparison were better to what I was running at the shorter distances. So it was always like, whenever Rayong changes up to a longer distance, he's like bang, he goes better. He's like he looks stronger than he did at the shorter stuff. So the natural inclination was to eventually
the ultimate.
Yeah, the ultimate goal was to like compete well in the marathon, but we just didn't know when the right time would be. And eventually I decided, like screw it, there's no right time to do anything. You make a decision and then you make it right along the way. You can plan the most perfect plan, but like life is unpredictable. You might get injured, your work might come in the way. Like who knows, you get attached, and then so all these things play a part in running as well. It's not a perfect science. So it was like, okay, I think that the marathon is unpredictable. It's the most unpredictable out of all the running events, because in the shorter events, if you're good, you're good. In the marathon, it's so long that even if you're good, some things can hit you. You can get cramps, you can get dehydrated, you can get all these things that you're not at risk at in the 5 and 10k or the 1,005. So I decided to make the decision to switch up, and that would give me a chance to win a gold medal.
So I'm curious about is when you made the switch, was it always in your mind, you know what, I'm going to go for the SEA Games gold, or was it, let's try it out to see where this takes you?
I would say that when I did my first marathon to qualify for the SEA Games, it was like, let's try it out. It was a kind of a 50-50, like it could go really well, as my usual move, when I move on distance, it usually goes really well, or it could suck, and if it sucked, we still had time to like go back to the 5 and 10 and and try and qualify in those events and scrap for a medal in the bronze medal or whatever. I think the best case scenario in the 5 and 10k was bronze. I wasn't gonna run, get a better color medal than that. So we went to the marathon. December 2014 was my first marathon in California. I had to run 2 hours and 30 minutes to qualify.
And you did 2:26, right?
And I ran 2 hours 26 minutes. And because that was faster than whatever Mok Ying ran to run to win the SEA Games in 2013, suddenly everyone's like, who's this new kid? And it was also faster than Mok's like personal best of 2:26:30. So straight away there was that comparison. Like who is this kid? Like how did he run 2:26 in his first marathon when like the SEA Games champion has taken like 10 tries or 11 tries or what? I don't know how many marathons he's done up to that point to run that time. Like, is he in with a chance to win? And obviously when the media kept wind of these things, not many reporters or journalists understand the intricacies. Thank you. The intricacies of the sport. like the athletes do. They just look at numbers. It's like,
Yeah.
alright, he ran this, last time the winning time was that. Let's label him a potential gold medal winner. So then that label was put on me, like potential gold medal winner, and that comparison was made. I was like, well, you know what? If people think I can do it, and I mean, I know it's not so simple because I ran 2:26 in very good conditions. SEA Games is always a little bit tricky in terms
humid
of
here.
Humid, hot. 2013 in Myanmar, it was actually cool and dry, but the next year was gonna be Singapore hot and humid. So I knew that 2:28 won it in Myanmar. I was like, it's gonna take something slower than 2:30 to win it in Singapore. I'm pretty sure. So I decided to okay, that's the first step is to believe. So I told my coach, let's start believing and working our way towards a gold medal. We're not gonna put too much pressure on ourselves because we know that it's difficult. So maybe it would have been a disappointment to other people if I didn't win it, but to me it was like, I'm gonna go for it. If my best is a silver or a bronze, so be it.
So I'll come back to the mock event thing later, but so that would be a bit. I have a couple more questions on sort of the process that got you there. How much? So you made the jump, you decided to go for it, you pushed yourself, and then the pressure was on, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the two parts here. How do you deal with a lot of pressure? And I'm sure there's a lot of doubt when you go along because it's a new thing for you. How do you balance out the pressure and the doubt?
I think that's a good question because my first SEA Games definitely I was dealing with all of that. Like usually people qualify at a younger age. I mean, I never made the SEA Games till I was 23 when a lot of my teammates on the team from the sports school or some of the more seasoned athletes who had qualified at a younger age, they was like second or third SEA Games, and for me it was my first time at the SEA Games. So I was a rookie at the games, but also labeled as one of the few chances we had at the gold medal. I mean, we're not very strong in track and field, so I think the few chances we had at the gold medal that year was Shanti Pereira, myself, Zhang Guirong, the thrower, and thankfully all three of us managed to score goals. But out of all of them, I think I was the least exposed to all these things. So I think that's where having a bit of self-confidence helped, because in Singapore we're generally taught to be humble and then don't think so highly of yourself, don't talk so much, and I think that it's nice, and everyone loves a soft-spoken guy, but when you're in the heat of battle you need a bit of fire.
did going to the US force you to learn that?
Did force me to learn that. I think that being in the US exposed me to a different culture. I wouldn't say it forced me to learn anything, but it's given me a taste of sports culture over there, and sports. I mean, it's not that we are cut off from the Western sports culture. We all watch English Premier League, right? We all watch the Olympics, and you can see the kind of trash talk and the kind of stuff that goes on in Western sports culture, and it's funny because we enjoy it when it's the Westerners doing it. But when we see one of our own doing it, it tends to rub people the wrong way. It's like, you can't be so arrogant. But if you replace that Chinese name with an Angmo name, suddenly no one thinks twice about it. So I think it's definitely a cultural difference. But I think it's something that athletes we have to deal with.
Hello again. I hope you enjoyed this part of the conversation, and I hope you learned something. Now please let me know what you think, either comment or reach out to me directly. And if you enjoyed this part of the conversation, then please look out for the other videos. I'll see you soon.